Activation code required. Access granted. Warning. Evacuation sequence activated.
We're back. Welcome to the bunker.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sorry for not being here on time. Friend, oh no, I still had a second left. Ha! That's good. Friend, so, tonight, I've got no one in here with me other than Nikki in, so just south of me, but, like, there is no one in the studio. It's lonely in here. Weird. But, it's going to be a good show. Tonight we're talking about a topic that I, honestly, until this week, hadn't looked into that much. So...
Yeah, unfortunately I have.
Now, Nikki, how many listeners of ours do you think have went to a hypnotist? Have you ever went to a hypnotist?
I've never done hypnosis or regression. Hypnosis regression.
But have you ever went to like a fun one?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
So
but
I've been to a few.
Okay.
And I've never been able to.
Yeah, neither have I. I overheard a conversation from military and ET, basically government asshats, and I got told that I am unhypnotizable, which is interesting. So there are people who, it's very rare, but there are people who are unhypnotizable. So that's sad.
Yeah, I'm just difficult, I think, because I think if someone tried hard enough, they could. But in a crowd, not a chance.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, but the whole basis of those fun hypnotists, when they do it for entertainment, is they make you do a bunch of things, and then they'll make you forget them.
Yeah, that's the rub.
The basis of the original MK Ultra project is the same thing.
Pretty much.
But... okay, I'm going to start with tonight's show is actually called MK Ultra is now the property of Prime or Disney, Netflix, Prime Plus.
Woo! Woo! That's a title.
Well, if you look at it, they all say the projects went away.
No, they did not.
Now,
all of them say that, but they've been retitled. They've been renamed.
Exactly.
Those projects.
They've been revamped. They've been replaced where like they actually moved where they're doing them.
Yep.
Because the CIA, the OSS, the MI5, any of those guys, they do not release the location of a safe house without having a new one already gone.
Correct.
So the fact that they released the ones from the 70s that they were using tells you there's new ones already, and there always will be.
Well, okay, now, first of all, we need to tell folks that MK Ultra was a secret program that started, it was all about human behavior, supposedly.
Yeah, it started as Project Bluebird.
It started in 1953.
Yeah, so Project Bluebird started in the 438, I think they said.
Yeah.
And then it turned into Project Artichoke. I keep wanting to call it avocado, and I don't know why. And then it became MK Ultra. And at the point of it becoming MK Ultra, it was split into 137 sub-programs.
Correct.
4 of which include children.
Yeah, think about that. Think about how wicked that is, especially to do to children. Because MK Ultra, when you're dealing with children, you're also getting into, for example, something I just talked about yesterday, super soldier programs. You're getting into breaking down the human psyche of the brain and literally splintering it. So this gets very insidious, very wicked, and it is a significant part of our U.S. government.
To show how wicked, to our listeners, the main American people.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. There is a possibility, and anyone who you talk to in the field will say that it is all subjection. There's it's just a chance.
Yeah.
But there is a chance that Charles Manson was a sleeper agent. That's insane.
There are many people who talk about that.
It makes sense when you think about it.
Yes, it does.
I mean, the guy comes into the spotlight with no money, not a lot of followers, a few ladies. Which back then, in the 70s, in the 60s, he was kind of a good-looking dude for back then. And if you're a fairly decent-looking guy with a lot of charisma, or as the kids now say, Riz, you can get a lot of things done. But you still need money. You always need money.
Well, now you look at him and how many groups and I'm talking musical groups that he got into.
Exactly.
I mean, that's big right there. That is really, really freaking big. I mean, there are certain musicians who've actually talked about them, and I'm not going to name groups because that could potentially cause some legal issues, but there are certain groups and certain musicians who've come out publicly and very publicly, U.S. News, and I don't mean like that specific news organization, but in the U.S. News, they've interviewed these musicians, and these musicians have talked about their experience with Manson and what it was like back in that time frame and how wicked things were. And that was before the murders of Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
So that gets into a whole nother gambit of psychological effed up things. So, I mean, this gets really involved, very in depth, very fast.
Well,
and
it makes you wonder.
CIA is involved.
It makes you wonder if the CIA and MK Ultra, if one of their programs was involved with the Tate murders.
No, I don't. Quite honestly, I don't. I don't believe that per se. I personally, so when I was in high school, I was fascinated. I couldn't figure out why that was so fascinating to me. Now I understand it. Now I understand why, because of my own shit. But that's beside the point. So basically, how I believe it regarding him is that, yeah, the potential there for being an MK Ultra victim, survivor, whatever you want to frickin' call it. Yeah, I have a tendency, it makes more sense to me that he was part of that. And it makes more sense to me that because he was so skewed to begin with, that he just went off. And I think that the guy was just, wow. I mean, really messed up mentally. In my opinion. That's a personal opinion. That's not a psychic opinion. And I'm getting told to be very careful because I just hit a touchy subject. Okay. So, interesting. Yes.
The way it was presented in the documentary,
yeah,
was the fact that, not in the documentary, sorry, this was the Joe Rogan podcast that he was talked about on.
Yeah.
Which, I hate Joe Rogan to begin with. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not a real fan, but I find it interesting who he is able to get on his podcast to open up and talk.
Yes. But
as long as I don't have to listen to him actually verbalize.
From everything...
You get through things.
From everything I've ever heard of Charles Manson.
Mm-hmm.
So David Allan Coe was his cellmate in San Quentin, I want to say. Maybe I might be wrong about that. But one of the prisons. But David Allan Coe did a stint with him, and they were cellmates. And he actually taught him how to play guitar.
Oof.
And he did say, though, like, he said he was a good guy, but crazy as an absolute loon. Which, to live the lifestyle that he had...
That's a contradiction in terms, man.
Yeah, it is. But I understand it as well. I know a lot of people that are like that. On a day-to-day basis, they can be okay. They can be fun to be around. They can make your life better sometimes. Mm-hmm. But to actually get involved with them,
yeah,
their life's just too crazy. Better acquaintances than friends is the way I would put it.
Yeah.
I know quite a few of those, and
I think a lot of people do, Cole.
Right? Like, yeah, like.
I think a lot of do.
And that's the thing. A lot of people would say the same thing about me. And I know it. And I'm okay with that. Sometimes the shit in my life is way too difficult that most people can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. Friend, but, like, the guy, he was still just a guy. But MK Ultra, if he was involved with that, my real issue is if he was involved with that and didn't know that's who he was doing it for. Because from everything he says, he would never work for the U.S. government.
Well, here's the thing about MK Ultra. It's a splintering of the mind. So a person can be, I mean, they literally, I got to be careful because something just popped into my head from a specific place. What I can't, oh God, I was going to use something as an example and I basically got told not to. But, so as I understand it, with an MK Ultra person, when they get splintered or altered, it's actually they're called alters. And basically, when an alter is triggered, it could be a phrase, it could be one word, it could be a scent, a smell, and literally somebody could walk up to them that is an operative, say a word to them, and it triggers a blackout of their consciousness and triggers the altar. The altar will say something or give the information to a person. Another word is said, and as the other person had just walked up, said the trigger word, and then receives the information verbatim, because they typically have a photographic memory or not eidetic memory, state exactly what was needed, and another trigger word shuts that altar off, and the person walks away. And all the person that is standing there that has the altars would ever know is somebody came up and said hi to them and walked on by.
No, but
that is a scary prospect.
According to what was said by this one gentleman, when I say he was a sleeper agent, that's not quite what I mean. I mean, his money came from them. But the ideas just coincided of feeding people LSD at parties.
Yeah.
And then creating his own cult out of it.
So you've got, with the MK Ultra thing, they were illegally feeding people LSD, amongst other things.
The original company, I think, is called LB Lewis or EB Lewis.
Something like that. I don't remember this.
They made the original set of LSD. And when they were deciding to give it up, the U.S. caught wind that there is a possibility Russia was trying to take it all. And instead, the U.S. government bought every dose that they had, which equaled out to over 100,000. Now, the thing is, they showed 4 agents that they talked to of the CIA asking if there was any evidence that Russia was trying to buy LSD and trying to start their own brainwashing program. And I checked afterwards because I wanted to follow up on that part, because that part really kind of weirded me out. There isn't. There is no proof whatsoever that Russia ever got involved. This was a strictly Asian communist versus Americans. Well, no, not Americans. Versus Allied forces. That's how I'm going to put it.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say you phrase that.
Yeah, but because MK Ultra actually came out of the idea, it was actually signed in due to the fact that we had prisoners of war coming back from Korea making claims that they had set up germ bombs, which go against the Geneva Convention in Korea. And the U.S. brought them back in for questioning, and it is believed that is when MK Ultra started, as they were brainwashing them to deny these claims, because they believed Korea brainwashed their soldiers to say this. Which, in a way, I believe that part. That part, I believe. Because anytime you torture someone, which I don't care what country it is, if you have a prisoner of war, you're torturing them. In some way or another.
Well, yeah, that goes into all the way up into Guantanamo. I mean, that's current stuff.
Yeah, over the years, the torture has just changed.
Yeah.
It's still torture, no matter what you do.
You bet it is.
Friend. Who was it? Reagan. He took one of MK Ultra's projects and actually reaffirmed it. And I'm not going to lie, I think this is wild. At the same time, I'm the type of person who believes it's kind of a necessary evil. But they, a group of students and a professor at UCLA started a project where they were giving sex offenders 2 brain implants of electrodes. One for tracking and one for immobilization. And if they went into a restricted area, an area they weren't allowed to be in, the government could track them there. As soon as they entered that area, they would immobilize them and the police would come get them. The project was shut down due to public outcry in LA.
Yeah.
Which, now with the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, that kind of makes sense. I mean, half of them were offenders. So, but...
And who was he affiliated with?
Everybody. Epstein. So, but who was affiliated with everybody? So, but, like, it's amazing how much this has branched out into areas where you hear about something, but you don't hear where it came from.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I hate to use this reference, but it's the only one I can think of. MK Ultra kind of seems like a Hydra project. You cut off one head and 2 grow in its place.
20 grow in its place.
But do you understand why I hate to use that reference?
Oh yeah, I get it.
Because of Marvel?
Yeah, I get it.
And the idea of the Winter Soldier?
I wasn't going to say that. Yeah, I wasn't going to say that.
It is too on the nose, but it is true. Like, the Winter Soldier is really just the Manchurian Candidate.
I think so. So that goes into the movies that we've got.
Oh, yeah. Like, there are tons of them based off of this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, hello. What movie producer or Hollywood would not want to make money off of that? I mean, that's a hell of a subject.
Yeah.
And how many movies have been made?
There is not much they don't make money off of.
Exactly. How many movies have been made because of these examples? I mean, you know, and if and when Hollywood hits it on the nose, they get a visit from a government agent. I've already been told that. I mean, that's... I've been told that by people in the know, and I'm like, oh my God. Long time ago I was told that. So, yeah, I mean, that gets really wicked.
Well, like, and
yeah,
I guess the biggest part that bothers me about it is the only people that die seem to be whistleblowers.
Yeah.
But that can't be true.
In what way that cannot be true?
Okay. This project started with 100, well, it started with one, but it started with 137 different projects going on at the same time. One where they are putting kids in boxes for most of their lives. One where they are putting people in dark rooms for over 50 days. For others where they are feeding them so many drugs they don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. There is no way people didn't die. I can't believe it.
Or suicided out.
Yeah.
How many of them suicided out, and how many of them were actual deaths because they found out? And I mean, that's typical government practice. I mean, and it sadly, it became corporate conglomerate practice as well regarding whistleblowers. And if somebody even got the inkling and said it to the wrong person,
that's the thing. Like, a lot of MK Ultra revolves around LSD.
Yeah.
LSD, in my mind, is like anything else. Anything can be okay in moderation.
Oh, look at microdosing now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Microdosing in 2022, 2023, and 2024, microdosing has become a big thing. And for some people, it is and I'm not talking microdosing LSD. I'm talking about microdosing other drugs. And in some fashion or form, microdosing is helping certain individuals with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or it's helping folks who have severe forms of ADHD or autism or some other thing that affects the brain. And the microdosing is, if it's done via medical staff, that it can be monitored so that those people end up being okay. There are purposes for it.
What does make me laugh is that everything they're microdosing these people is something that MK Ultra tried.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and they've done it for
years. They are doing magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
They are doing LSD. There is
I haven't heard that one yet, but okay.
Yeah, there's a psychiatrist professor in Stanford who is giving his patients microdoses of LSD for anxiety.
Well, that's interesting.
And it's working.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So,
but they're being monitored.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, though, where, like, LSD is one of those unpredictable drugs. It works until it doesn't.
Yep.
So, friend.
And then you get into some scary stuff.
I think the FDA and the ATF are going to actually probably take that one, and they're going to make them go through some hoops to actually get that one legalized.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But the fact that out of the company that originally made LSD, we now have things like Prozac. That's amazing.
Yeah, and look how long Prozac's been out on the market for.
Yeah, like
long time.
And it does help a lot of people. Like, yes, there's people that abuse it, but there's people that abuse everything.
Yeah.
Like, that can't be helped. But some people actually really need it.
Yeah.
The best
well, you got to be careful with it too, because I've known people where they've talked about where it zones them out so badly, just even a small dose of it, that they don't feel anything, and their counselor, even their own, they've told me that their own counselors are like, you got to get off of this because you're not able to process what is taking place in your life, which is why the anxiety level, which is why you were put on it to begin with. But so I mean, I think in microdosing, I think it, for folks like that, in my personal opinion, you got to be really careful when we're talking about this stuff. These are all personal opinions, folks. None of this is medical anything. This is not. I do your own research, talk to your own medical team, medical staff, and look into stuff. But so it can be used in a helpful way for others in microdosing. So
and it's all trial and error because, like,
yes, it is.
I can't remember his name, but there's a comedian he said it the best way I've ever heard someone say it. He said, we have a drug for everything now. It's getting stupid. Like, you walk over to someone's house and they're like, this is our son. He has ADHD. So we give him Ritalin. He's the one drooling with the spoon in his mouth. friend. And yeah, I met those kids. I grew up with some of those kids, friend. And then he said, do you realize that our parents and their parents never had that?
Yeah, they didn't.
Friend, do you think the guys who stormed the beaches of Normandy said, I'm feeling really anxious right now? No, they puked and got out on that beach. So, like, yes, some people...
Or the guy... Sorry.
If you have two personalities sitting in your head fighting over supremacy, okay, you need a drug for that, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us kind of just need to suck it up. And he's kind of right. In a lot of ways.
And we have to work through it, and are we willing to work through it? That goes into the counseling thing, and that's what I'm dealing with right now. It's like I'm having flashbacks and memories of things that was done to me when I was 8 years old and older, and their government, it's government shit. It's literally ET government. It's not just government shit. It's ET government shit. And I'm going, okay, well, I've been through the counseling. I'm dealing with you. You have to find a way that you can handle it and that you can deal with it. But the question becomes for the individual, how willing are you to process this?
Exactly.
Is the emotion too much to process? Or are you going to do something not okay? And, so, and I'm a proponent for speaking about things. I'm a proponent for dealing with a person's issues and problems and find a way that you can process it. And it is a process. Going through emotional shit is a process, no matter whether you like it or not. And it's not easy.
Well,
but
that's the thing. We've gotten to the point where, like, the government no longer needs to dose anyone because we're all taking this shit by choice.
Yeah, for different reasons.
And that's the thing. Like, a drug is a crutch.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets that eventually you are supposed to put the crutches away.
Yep, exactly.
It's not supposed to be for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, okay, some of them, if you have had an heart attack, yes, you should probably take the nitro whenever you fucking need it. Because, if you pass out in the middle of the road, well, yeah, that's a bad thing. But if you went through trauma and you have anxiety from it,
yep,
the Prozac's only going to do so much. After
That's
a
right.
while, it doesn't even matter, if your body can process it. After a while, it's going to stop working.
Correct.
Friend, our bodies are not made to take that in.
For a lifelong thing. Yeah, exactly.
So, but the whole idea that we got all of these drugs from a program or from a company that sold them for such nefarious purposes at first.
Yeah. It's really sickening.
It is. It bothers me, and at the same time, I'm like, well, okay. Kayla is the devil's advocate on this, and she says, how many good things, though, have come out of the program?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, you look at so many factors of it, and it's like, well, on one hand, you've got a lot of victims, and on another hand, you have people who are being helped by it.
But
so where is the line?
Well, the problem I'm having with that, Nikki, is we can't have a line. Because they still deny it happened.
Yeah, and yet I'm looking right... Oh, where'd it go?
Well, okay, they're not denying it happened. They're denying it worked.
Yeah.
Everything they did failed.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so I'm literally looking online right now, and there is a CIA.gov reading room document 06760269, Project MK Ultra, CIA FOIA, the World Fact Book, and it talks about MK Ultra. Now, I'm not on that website because I choose not to be.
Yeah.
There are reasons why I don't do that, but there are government websites that will talk about it. It's not the only one. I know that it's not the only one, but it's the one that's actually popping up right now on my screen. And there are a lot of articles, even the Smithsonian. There's a Smithsonian magazine. What we know about the CIA's mid-century mind control project, MK Ultra. So, I mean, it's incredible how many things are out there on this specific program, but yet how much of the information actually talks about the beforehand and the after, and what it has created and triggered into our future society being 2024.
Yeah.
You know? And how many, here's the other question, how many individuals from the 60s, 70s, born in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or even 90s are out there that have been a version of MK Ultra'd?
Well,
that's a scary thought.
We call this
because
the age.
Those programs are still going in different ways.
We call this the age of DIY. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
But it's not. We're in the age of do it halfway, good enough.
I wasn't raised in that. I wasn't raised in that. But however,
2024, that's where we're at.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at all the YouTube videos; they are incomplete of what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. Because they can't keep your attention long enough. And this is true for anyone, including me. If I had to watch someone actually build an entire porch where they measured and cut and everything and filmed it all, I wouldn't make it through the video.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when you miss steps like that, the Middle Ages, caveman days, all the way up to pioneer days, those were do-it-yourself. Those were the do-it-yourself years. We're not the same.
No, we're not.
We grow a few plants in our yard or in our house and think we're feeding ourselves. Great, but we're still going to the store. Why are we still going to the store? If you're feeding yourself, you shouldn't be going to the store.
That was my point back in the 90s. When I was I was creating my own herbal products. I was creating my own, some soaps, not a lot, but some soaps, and breads and tortillas, and couldn't make any of the cheeses, but, now there's a whole, you go onto YouTube and you can make your own kind of cheese, but hello.
Yeah, I ain't fucking doing that.
That's a totally different, that's a process. I mean, how into it are you going to be?
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think that's my issue with it is 90% of the time I will not get into something unless I know I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to be able to do it, especially if it's something I'm putting in my goddamn mouth,
yeah,
I ain't doing it. Because if I tried to make cheese, I honestly think I'd screw it up. But I'd still feel like I have to eat it because I made it.
Yeah. But is it going to be good?
Yeah, that scares the shit out of me because am I going to die?
Well, there are levels you'd have to really watch the temperature and all that kind of stuff. But then you're dealing with that. That's why there's so much about government trying to say, well, we're going to stop putting this out and we're going to stop putting that out. And people, that's why people are going online. They're like, no, these are things that can be done and that you can do. I mean, if I had back in the day, if I had a dehydrator, long before I ever got a dehydrator, I would have been drying my own, because I grew a lot of tomatoes, a lot of heirloom tomatoes and a lot of Roma tomatoes. And Roma tomatoes back then were really, really good at, okay, please quit walking behind me. Thank you. Roma tomatoes were really good in making spaghetti sauce, all kinds of sauces. And I mean, you dehydrate that stuff up and powderize it. I was already powderizing the herbs I was drying to make my tinctures or to make my herbal recipes, powdered things. And matter of fact, back then I had a number of medical people that were going, you need to put this out into the manufacturing world because you've got something going on here. You've got some recipes that are really, really important. And thank God I've kept those recipes. But you look now between the 1990s and the 2020s, and a lot of that kind of stuff is already out on the market. However, the difference is that once you sell the recipe, or once you sell, you don't know how it's going to be used.
Yeah.
How the manufacturer or the person who is now owning the company is going to. You look at different companies. Oh God, I can't think of the name of it, but there was one guy. He sold his company, and the company took off in a gigantic way, but they went after him in a hardcore way. And I'm like, this is not cool. And this is why I will not buy products from that company ever again, because of how they treated the original owner and how they went after him. And it's like, you get a lot of things like that with different companies. So you have very few original companies out there because those mom and pops have been bought out. And we're off the MK Ultra thing, but they're bought out and they're starting to put less quality ingredients into their products. And it's like, wow.
Well,
these people had built their products up and built their name up, and these giant conglomerates are coming in and destroying the product, destroying the names.
Well, and that's the thing. We're not quite off that subject, because it kind of makes me wonder, does E.B. Lewis, okay, I would love to talk to him, the CEO of that company at that point. But I imagine he's dead now. So, but when he sold them all of the LSD, did he have any idea what they were going to use it for, do you think?
Probably not.
Because, like, anyone who has looked into this, they've seen the videos of the guys who were originally part of the program and were put on it. And, like, heavy doses. Well, the idea of Frank Clark, who was going to be a whistleblower on the whole program, and all of a sudden he had a meeting, or went to a party with the lead scientist at MK Ultra, and he was dosed with LSD, became really depressed, and jumped out a 10-story window. Like,
it's hard.
When they sold that, I'm trying to put myself in that mindset, because that's the thing. In that time, it's the 1950s. We are still in the moment of trust your government. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which now that's almost completely gone.
Okay, so the chemist who created LSD is Albert Hoffman,
Okay.
Swiss chemist.
Yeah. And it said he worked for that company, E.B. Lewis, and they're the ones who mass-produced it.
Yeah.
Friends, he's dead, isn't he?
Yeah, 2008.
Well, shit, I ain't getting my answers then.
Yeah, well, you might. He died at 102 years old. He was born in 1906.
For a high achiever all around, Jesus.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of which, totally off topic, I didn't realize Bob Barker died.
Yeah, a while back.
But do you realize how epically he died?
No.
He was 4 months under 100. He got just to about 100 and died.
So here's the thing.
He never went over $1.
Jesus. Cool.
But if you ran that show for that long, that is the way to go out.
Oh, yeah. Not going there. Oh, not going. Here's the thing with that specific death, though. I remember him dying early. Like, long time ago. Like in the early 2000s.
No way.
Yeah, dead serious.
So, like, before Drew took over.
Long before Drew took over. Matter of fact, I remember somebody else doing it before Drew. And I was like, why is Drew? And then I was like, how is this guy still alive? So, I mean, there's a mind bender for you. There are people that I knew that had died, seen it in newspapers. They were on the front, not the front page, but on one of the pages of Seattle Times and PI back in the day. And I'm like, how is this person even still alive? You talk about things like that. That's the kind of mind-bending stuff. I mean, and I've got a photographic memory. If I really get into that memory, I could tell you what page it was on, what date it was. I don't even bother doing that because it's minutia to me. But that's the kind of stuff that I get really frustrated over. And now it's just looked at as, oh, well, you're misremembering. No, I'm not. I knew a lot of other people who remember that, although they're not in my life anymore. But so you get stuff like that.
Well,
when you talk Bob Barker, I was like, yeah.
That part makes me wonder. Okay, every idea has to come from somewhere.
Ouch. Yeah.
The main idea of the Men in Black is they can erase your memory completely within a second and give you a new one within 10 seconds later.
Well, it depends on who you talk to and who believes that.
Well, but here's the thing.
Yeah. Yes.
In the movie, where do they get that technology?
Mm-hmm.
From an alien race. Friend, do you think... Well, okay, no, this is not a do you think, because with about 99% probability, 99.9, I would say that at least one alien race is involved in MKUltra. Because it's too perfect.
I know 4.
Okay. Now, there's no way they would want to stop the programs. I know that.
No, why would they?
But also,
it's too easy for them to use.
If they already work, why wouldn't you try and adapt them to as well?
Oh, I'm sure they have tried to adapt
I would almost say, out of the original 137, maybe let's go with the average number. 100 of them worked right off the bat.
Okay.
Out of the original projects. Now, the average lifespan of a project for the government is 5 years. So that's 10, 14 years, or 14 times that has changed.
Yeah, but how many of them get renamed and pushed forward into 20 years, 30 years?
Okay, but what I'm saying is, like I said, it's like a hydra. So every 5 years, it adapts into 2 or 4 or 5 different projects out of each one. So now, out of the original 100 that worked, we now have
thousands.
Yeah, 14,000 projects out of that.
Yeah, think about that.
And
which also, Cole, jives exactly what you just said, jives with what I read in that government book.
Okay. So, but now taking that into account.
In the 80s.
We're going to go with the number 14,000.
Regarding ufology, yeah.
Out of 14,000, only 12,000 work this time. So as of now, 12,000 programs are enacted.
Uh-huh.
Just out of MK Ultra.
Uh-huh. It's a pretty major thought, isn't it?
It is, considering...
So...
when you think of how many people they would have to disappear out of that from each project that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you get rid of that many people? Well, fuck, you give them to an alien race that eats people. That's great. Like,
no, or I thought you were going.
Or you give them to an alien race to do their own experiments on. It's a trade-off. Like, yeah, they're ruined for what the government here is doing, but that doesn't mean they're completely ruined for a race that wants to do their own type of experiments on us. You're looking at me like I'm way too close or way too far away.
I think you're hitting on, because I got a snicker from somebody, and I think you're really, really freaking close to something.
I knew it. We're feeding a race, and they're called the Manchurians. That's why we're looking for candidates.
Oh my God, no, that's not. No.
No, but like, in all seriousness, like, the amount of spread that would have is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like, if you tried to put that on paper, by the time you get, by the time we hit 2050, if you just spread from the center and then put lines out to each project, it'd just be a black circle. That's where we'd be at.
I'm going to make a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the story of the Soviet spy that was living with his daughter in England a few years ago?
No.
And the reason he made news is because this somewhere between 3 and 6 years ago. It happened after 2019. That I know. And he and his daughter came back from a dinner or something, and they went back to their flat, which is an apartment for those in the U.S. who don't know what a flat is for British terminology. And they each put their hand on the doorknob to enter their home. My point with this is that they got violently ill. He was killed. I mean, and they couldn't figure out if this was they had locked down certain sections of the neighborhood because they didn't know if this was a potential deadly virus that had gone out. The daughter had gotten ill. They were trying to figure out if anybody else had gotten ill. This was a major news story, okay? It went global. It wasn't national. It went global because it hit our national media, news media. And that was back in the time when I was watching news. Not often, but enough of it. And I was like, wow. So I kind of kept an eye on that. And come to find out, they found out, well, this guy's a retired spy. If I remember correctly, I believe he wanted to become a British citizen. So essentially he became a double agent. And he was taken out. When they got that figured out, all the news shut down. Now, if any government wants to take somebody out, what was told to me by somebody who would definitely know, and I'm never going to repeat their name, there are vast, super easy ways, whether you're driving on a street, whether you're a pedestrian, whether you come home. And this story really made the point with me that if a government really wants you out, it could be something as elaborate as what was done to that Soviet double agent, or as simple as a heart attack or brushing up against somebody and getting stuck with something. I mean, it could be anything from elaborate to very simple.
Well, shit, nowadays they don't even have to stick you with something. They just have to touch a piece of their hand to your hand.
Exactly.
Because they have.
I mean, it can be something.
Yeah, they have synthesized skin on their side, but on top of it is some deadly virus.
Exactly. So, I mean, or as simple, heart attacks, brain aneurysms, all sorts of that. That's old school. That's all old school stuff. Now it's very, very different. So when you talk about whistleblowers, it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be anything, and you would never see it coming. Ever.
I've never worried about a brain aneurysm because there's nothing you can do if you have one.
Mm-hmm. But what causes them?
It's one of my intrusive thoughts, Nikki. I'll drive down the road and look at oncoming traffic and just think, if I had a brain aneurysm, you're fucked.
Yeah, everybody is.
And then I judge how bad it would be based on their vehicle versus mine.
Yeah, or how many other vehicles are around. I mean, look at the vehicles nowadays. Somebody gets tapped in a very specific way on their vehicle, and the vehicle that is being driven that was tapped flips. And flips in horrific ways. And it's like, part of that has to do with the dynamics and the size of the vehicle.
Well, like yesterday on our way home, me and Kayla got rerouted because a truck and trailer had flipped over and hit two cars.
Oh, man.
Today, same area of the road, a biker tried to pass a truck at the wrong time and got hit by a car. Now, they canceled Life Alert and took him in an ambulance, so he's got to be okay.
Yeah, for them not to life lift him from a helicopter. Yeah, that's
So, but like,
either that or he was dead and they were coming to get the body.
it just seems like it's happening more and more.
Yeah, it is.
Like 2 days in a row is insane here, especially on the same stretch. But I don't know. Like, I still think with that many people, because some of this stuff, in order to keep it secret.
Oh, you're signing NDAs.
Oh, yeah, but how many people are willing to break an NDA? Especially after 2010.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, Snowden kind of set the record there.
That goes right back into the MK Ultra.
Yeah.
You don't have to sign an NDA to be MK Ultra'd.
No. They'll just make you forget.
You can be you can be a victim of it and not even know.
Well,
What's a scary thought?
Yeah. Friend.
Here's an example.
Truth be told, Nikki,
yeah.
If I was, they're not doing their job very well. I'd be a horrible fucking spy. Okay, like, I ain't gonna be able to kill nobody because I can barely run. Like, all they have to do is run away real fast and they're good to go. Like, if I was a victim of MK Ultra, you'd think there'd be someone coming in a suit saying, "Hey, get on the treadmill for a minute." Like, come on, buddy. Like,
well, there are other things that can be used in situations of that nature. That's beside the point. But what gets me is the abduction of children.
Wow.
Being used in forms for, and that's what's going on. Somebody made a comment in my chat yesterday, in my broadcast chat, that just, it was an excellent comment, don't get me wrong, but it astounded me because they made the correlation between what happened to the thousands of children that disappeared from the that the U.S. government had that went missing from the Mexican border and those coming in. What happened to, they literally, nobody has, I've never heard an updating news story about that.
No.
Those school buses literally disappeared. What happened to those thousands of children?
Right.
Well, here's a thought for you. What happens if, now this is just me talking, this is not psychic, but this is logic. Okay, this is just sheer logic. What if they were used, or potentially, I should say it this way. What if the potentiality for them being used in some kind of program like that? Because that means that they're being trained. If something like that potentially occurred, that means that they would be being trained from very, very early on to be anything, anyone, being used in very specific, nefarious ways. That's a horrible thought. I mean, that's a lot of children to go missing.
Well, and that's the thing. It's been, like, for a lot of these guys, since this started in the 50s, it's been so fucking long.
Yeah.
We can't get an answer out of them even if they're still alive. Not a real good one.
Mm-mm.
Because I'm trying to remember the name of the camp, but I can't remember. There was a summer camp that they sent a bunch of kids to.
Oh.
And it was an MK Ultra program.
Well, let's see if I can call it up.
where they would put them in different situations and then study them. But it was at that point in time, and I think this is mid-60s, they just considered it a free summer camp.
1961.
Okay. Friend, but like trying to ask these guys now, who are now 67 years old, 68 years old, about going to this camp, how much are they going to remember?
Yeah.
Like, most of them would just remember the fun they had.
MK Ultra messy kids.
Friend, that is still not the worst one that bothers me, though. But it's stupid because the worst one that bothers me is also the one where I have the most sympathy for.
That you have the most sympathy for? Okay, what is it?
One of the original programs was the one scientist putting kids into a box.
Yeah.
And leaving them there, except for to eat.
That's to break the mind.
To talk to him. Yes.
That's specifically to break the mind.
The thing
that's to create alters.
When they talked about it on the programs, like on the documentaries,
yeah,
the part they skipped over real fucking fast, which bothered me, this is the sympathetic part, is that scientist didn't use any other kids other than his own.
His own children, yeah.
He refused to do it to other kids.
But yet he did it to his own. Yeah, there are a lot of scientists back in the day that did that to their own kids. They used and abused them.
In no way am I saying it's right.
No.
But if you're using a scientific mind in an agency that you already know, like if you're that in depth with it, you already know people are disappearing because they're your friends that are going. You know why they're disappearing. At least around the water cooler, you've heard rumors. And you get the go-ahead to start your own project. And you have an idea. But you know it's unethical.
Yeah.
You are literally making kids as objects, not as children.
Yeah, they're subjects.
Yeah,
they're
but if you watch
subjects in a,
if you watch the videos, you can tell they're his kids.
Yeah.
Because even though like most of those guys were scientists first, you can see his eyes light up when they open the case and she's in there.
Yeah, that's pretty sick and twisted.
It is.
So, it wasn't just in the United States that there were camps. There were also camps in Hamfest, Norway, and in Vienna, Austria.
My ancestors would never do that, Nikki. I don't know what you're talking about. We're good little German folk. Not like those guys to the east.
Yeah. And my computer just had a spurge in it, just like last night. Anytime I go online now and I start finding certain information, my computer gets hit.
Huh.
Especially if I start talking about it publicly. Isn't that fun? I'm going to talk about targeting. At least I know they're doing it. And I got told that before we went on air that I would have something happen, not happen, but that we would be listened in on. And sure as shit, we're being listened in on.
You need to look at your Microsoft settings, though, I think. I think something's turned on that's not supposed to be.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me that they did. So at 10:15, I got told that we were being listened in by the government. I got told which part of the government. I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, so
I'm so targeted. I don't. It's like whatever.
When I was making the tags for the show,
yeah.
So the hashtags, I really wanted to put CIA in there, but I thought,
no,
maybe not.
No. That's not one I would do.
Yeah. Because I do know, like they do take shit fairly seriously.
Yes, they do.
Because there actually is a girl on TikTok. Her dad is an ex-spy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a real ex-spy. Okay, yeah, he's a real ex-spy. And I can't remember. Her name is, like, it's a very girly name, and then it says redacted behind it. And she just tries to get her dad to say shit that he did.
Yeah.
And
he's in his, 50s, late 50s, early 60s, something like that.
And once she gained over 1,000 followers, she was followed by FBI, CIA. She was followed by all the major agencies on TikTok and Twitter. I was like, damn.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was fucking well known.
Yeah.
Pardon my language, but he was well known.
He was. But he's also smart enough that this is his daughter's account.
He knows.
Yeah, he ain't gonna release shit.
He knew. He knew. I'm like, come on. You can't be a government spy and not frickin' know that if you're being interviewed, whether whoever's interviewing, even if it's a family member, you know to keep your frickin' mouth shut. There are things that you can say, but there are things you absolutely cannot. I'm like, hello.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Like that. What the hell?
I wouldn't put it past the agency to actually take it to the point where they are briefing him.
Oh, probably.
On what he's allowed to say.
And they can use him.
As a smoke show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's a perfect smoke show because it's out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a number of things that they shut down. She posted, I can't remember what it was, a couple of years ago, actually. She posted something, and I started laughing because I knew. I was like, there's no way in hell that's going to... Sure enough, the following week, it was gone, man. Gone. I was like, yeah that's... And there was a comment. She made a comment in one of the next videos about it, and I'm like, yeah, uh-huh. I don't know where it went. Oh, sure as hell you don't know where it went. Uh-huh, right. So, but... I just found something. Where the hell did it go? Damn, hang on a second.
Oh, shit. Before I forget.
Yes?
Friend, have you ever heard of Book Talk?
Why does that sound familiar?
Okay, so it's this new... well, not new. It's been around for like 10, 15 years. Since the invention of TikTok. And it's video recordings of book reviews. The thing is, it has gotten way out of hand. But these are also the most epic reviews you'll ever get.
Really?
But the thing is, do you realize that there is not enough books in the world anymore for social media?
That doesn't surprise me. I've been hearing authors. There are people that I know that have written books, and quite a few people I know that have written books, and they are talking about that very subject.
Well, and that's the thing.
How difficult it is to get your hands on books now. Oh, everything is via technology.
I'm not talking about that. I mean that they are running out of things to review.
Oh,
to the point
really?
Where they are reviewing blog stories that people are writing that have no grammar correction whatsoever.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And
that's sad. That's hysterical.
Me and Kayla were listening to one of our podcasts that we like, and this lady was on Reddit asking if she was the asshole for being mad at her sister because her sister started reading out excerpts from the books that she was reading at family events. And they are romance stories from places like Reddit and Twitter and like Tumblr and all those, right? And there's actually an entire series based on COVID-19, falling in love. Like, the virus actually became sentient and fell in love and had a romantic relationship. And it's a series. This is not like a
Did
full
you just
thing.
see that?
Yes,
Did you just see?
Yes, it did.
That was my screen. My whole screen blacked out and came back on.
Oh, fuck. COVID-19 did go sentient. I'm not supposed to talk about it. And it's in love with someone at the CIA.
Oh, that's just a joke, guys.
Yeah. One thing that did bother me about the whole documentaries from MK Ultra is, like, okay.
That was fucked up. Sorry, guys.
The CIA is not supposed to work within the confines of the United States.
Really?
The fuck?
What the hell?
So why do they have safe houses in the United States?
I
And
just
why do
got
they
to
have-
shut my mouth.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, why do they?
I was going to say something, and I just got told to shut your
They have
mouth.
safe houses in the United States. In the 70s and 60s, they set up LSD drug dens.
Yep.
And that's where they ended
Which
up
also
with...
goes into that, and they did it also in, where the hell was it? The Secret History of Fort Detrick, excuse me.
Yeah, Detrick and Lejeune.
CIA base for mind control. Yeah.
But, like, in San Francisco, they actually had an entire apartment building that they bought.
Yep.
And told their people to dress like hippies, grow their hair out, and make it look like a hippie den.
Yep.
And then they start dosing people with LSD in there. Well, the CIA is
prostitutes in there too.
Yeah, and they had tons of brothels. But the FBI is the only federal government agency that is supposed to run within the United States. So what the fuck has decided? Why aren't they in shit? That's the part I don't get.
Why are they in shit?
No, why aren't they? Like, we had 3 sets of judicial court for hearings on this. And not once did they get in trouble. Why not?
Because they're the CIA. Supposedly they can do no wrong.
Well, that's wrong. Otherwise we wouldn't have all got COVID. But,
you see the look I'm giving you.
But no, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, they're supposed to follow these set of rules based off of the Constitution. And based off their own constitutions that they wrote.
Yeah.
And yet, they're just running a fucking muck. Especially with taxpayer money. That's the part that bothers me the most, I think.
Yeah, I do have to agree with that.
When I know exactly how they could fund their entire fucking program without a goddamn problem. I mean, you take drugs from one cartel, and then you sell them to another rival cartel.
Oh, dear God, don't get into that shit.
When they try and bring them back in the States, you steal them back and friggin' sell them to the original cartel again. And you start a fight between the two cartels. Cartel's gone, not a problem.
What makes you think that they don't already do that?
Well, obviously they're not fucking asking enough money then.
Oh, dear God.
Because if they were, my kids would have a decent fucking education.
Yeah, I do have to say the things that are going on in the United States are really screwed up right now in the last 10, 15 years. It's really gotten worse.
Out of the last report, friggin', from the last
We
quarter.
are. I'm getting nailed with information from the other side. We are really being watched. I mean, like hard frickin' core, Cole.
But like,
Holy crap! I'm getting it from her. I'm getting it from him.
the last quarterly report from the Washington State government, from the Treasury.
Thank you.
We alone are missing $25 million. Do you know
from
that?
What?
The Washington State Treasury. $25 million is missing.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard something about that a couple years ago, right?
No, this was this year.
This year?
Yes.
I thought there was something else that went with that from like 2-3 years ago.
No, it went missing like another. Well,
COVID was going on. It got kind of swept under the rug, so to speak.
This just happened.
Okay.
Friend.
See, I don't listen to regular news anymore. This is why.
It's why so Washington State can't hire anyone right now. They're all on hiring freezes.
The state is?
Yes.
Wow.
Friend, because they can't afford to.
Well, hello, yeah. Yet $25 million missing. So how much money is missing out of each state in the U.S.?
Exactly. And how often does this happen?
And why is it happening? Why is it happening now versus many, many years ago? Were they taking money? Oh, I got told to be careful on this one. Well, I'm going to say it anyway. Were they taking money over the course of time? But see, as I understood it, Cole, the government has different oh, God. Come on, guys. I am trying to be nice about this here. I'm getting information from the other side, so I do have to be careful. But as I understood it, I thought different factions of the government, and I say it that way for a specific reason, were working with certain conglomerates, and they have patents out on certain things and are creating new patents for other products, and those products are bringing in income. Yeah, I know. I got the point.
Yeah, but okay.
Be more careful. God.
The thing is, Nikki, with that, okay. Back since the creation of the CIA and the FBI and all of those, friend, they have been given a certain amount of money each year to operate.
Yeah, exactly.
It was never enough.
This goes above and beyond that.
Well, yeah, it was never enough.
Yeah.
The thing is, when did Social Security get enacted?
Oh, God, I don't remember right now.
They know exactly how much is supposed to be in Social Security accounts.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that's how much is in there.
That's true.
Because here's the thing. Like, when you break that part of it down, so you on average, the average taxpayer pays into Social Security for 40 years of their life.
Supposedly.
They retire for 20.
So what is going to happen when we start getting med beds out in the public and people start living over 100 on a regular basis?
Well, that's fucking easy. You work till you're 90. Yeah, but people are already doing that. Never mind, you work till you're 100. I mean, Kayla's aunt is 82, and she is still hairdressing.
That's awesome.
Every day. Like, she works 6 or 5 days a week on average, and then if someone else needs a vacation, she works 6 days a week.
That's awesome that she can physically handle that, because being a hairdresser with the hands, the arms, that's repetitive, which creates carpal tunnel. So the fact that she continues to do that is a big deal. Kudos to her.
And, well, like, I don't know how to
say this. I'm going to say something. Whoever's telling me they're expecting me to specifically give, you're not going to hear it from me. They're literally, I'm being told by the other side, they are expecting me to talk about psychic stuff. Not going to frickin' happen today. If that's what you're waiting for, move on. Walk away, because I'm not going to talk about the stuff that I'm getting psychically.
Oh, okay.
Other than what I'm being told psychically right now, and when I'm being told, because the person that is with me right now, that is staying with me, I'm not going to frickin' name them publicly. And I don't, it's not just that one person that's here. I've got a number of people here, and I've got a couple of angels here from what I can feel. They're hovering around and paying attention. They're being observed. They're being, God, I can't, there's a word that I want to say, but it's not calling up. So if you are expecting me to be psychic Johnny on the frickin' spot, CIA and government, move along. It ain't going to frickin' happen tonight, because I will not go there unless it's something I don't, it's been a choice tonight. I'm not doing that. This is information that's being talked about from what I already know, from what I've researched, and from bits of personal experience that I am remembering. So move the frick along and back off, because if you're expecting me to be psychic Johnny on the frickin' spot tonight, I have choice words for you. It ain't gonna frickin' happen. So scoot along, move along, and go elsewhere. Anyway,
so you know, Nikki,
wanted to say that. Yeah, Cole.
If one of the angels is trying to touch your butt and giggling, that's my grandpa. Tell him to go away.
No.
Friend.
Oh my God, no, it's not. Matter of fact,
he likes to do that. Friend.
Although I have had spirits do that from time to time. Well, not tickle the butt, but they come up and put their hand on my low back periodically. There's a couple of uncles that, not my uncles, but another woman's uncles, and the two of them, oh my God, or it's an uncle and a grandfather. And I swear to God, they are the two, God, they are a pair of characters. They have sat in my home. They have rocked in the recliner that I'm sitting in, because it rocks back and forth periodically. And they are, when the two of them enter my home, oh my God, it's like Comedy Central in my home. And they don't shut up. It's very rare that the two of them ever shut up. and they're very much smart-assy and very much like handsy. But they are not the ones who are here right now. I've got a couple of very old school.
I hope not.
No, I've got a very couple of old school folk. I've got a man, a woman, and a couple of others that I'm not talking about. And so they're kind of, a couple of them are standing around, and a couple of them are sitting on my couch. So I'm being well observed, and that's fine. I understand that. And they're like spurring me on, going, you need to talk about this, or you need to talk about that. But I'm not. And some of it I have talked about, some of it I haven't talked about, because it's not the right. On one hand, I look at it where it's not the right place and time, but yet on another hand, it is. But it's, in my opinion, there are certain things that they have mentioned that to me are too dangerous.
Yeah.
To bring up. And that's why I say to the government, move along, scoot your butt across the goddamn floor like a dog who's got worms, and just scoot along, move along. So anyway.
There is actually... The word was mentioned in the documentary.
What's the word?
Psychic.
Yeah.
Because there was one MK Ultra project that had something to do with sensitive people.
Okay, so here's something that I do know about that.
Okay.
that I can speak on from personal experience and from others that I know that have had a personal experience. When there is a program that deals with children that tries to break the children into altars. One of the things that they also do in that is build psychic abilities, especially if they find that the child already has some form of abilities to begin with. They build on those hardcore. Now, here's the other side of that. The ETs do the same thing.
Okay.
So it gets really
that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it gets very convoluted. Boy, that's a favorite word of mine in the last 3 days. Jeez. But it gets very convoluted in certain fractions and factions of it. But that actually, with what you were going to talk about, that's what I know.
Honestly, I'm probably going to say the one thing that the CIA themselves, are going to hate the most right now. And that is the fact that when it comes to the programs that they run, I kind of view it as monkey see, monkey do. Because when it compared to a lot of the alien races, that's what we are. Right? So they see them do it, and they try and do it too. And I feel like with a lot of our programs, that's why a lot of them do fail, is because we are the dumbass monkey trying to put the round peg in the square hole.
And the interesting thing about that goal is that monkeys are very smart.
Yeah, and they are. That's the thing. In their own realm. But that's the thing. We are trying with a lot of this stuff to reach outside of our own realm.
Yeah.
Into areas that we shouldn't be. That we don't belong yet. I think that has a lot to do with what you and Keith talk about a lot, is we're not ready for a lot of this yet.
No, in the grand scheme of things, we're really not. There's so much conversation in ufology and outside of ufology regarding how much humanity is really ready for what has been going on. There's something, and I think that's why the government has done the trickle-down effect, especially in the last, 3 years? 2 years, 3 years? There's a trickle-down effect, and do I believe, as others believe, that there is a program that is set up to, and I quit with behind me, please. I know you're trying to get my attention. I get that. If you want to get my attention, be louder in telepathy. Or pinch me or something. But quit screwing with my technology. Yeah. God. Anyway, somebody's being a smartass now because I said pinch me. That smartass. Somebody's being a smartass over it. Anyway, so the point is that I think that the government does have some kind of program based on different things that have been taking place over the years and over the last within the last 5 years, really within the last 3 or 4. But anyway, and I think they do have this program to where they've been slowly doing the drip factor, and getting more information out. But I wonder how much of that is actually going to stop because certain things are taking place and certain things are becoming too much out there and people are becoming more aware. And it's interesting because it's the younger ones that are becoming more aware now.
Well, and that's the thing that bothers me is also, okay, they are starting to release information. That's great.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things of what they're doing, that tells me that this stuff doesn't mean shit. And that's scary.
Bingo.
Because...
Right. I agree.
the stuff that they're releasing, some of it's scary in the fact of its own. But if that's what they're releasing, then there's worse shit out there.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I mean by we're not ready. We are advancing in things. Our government is trying to. How do I put this? Okay, MK Ultra.
Yeah.
In the entire biome of the idea of it. I think there are practices for it that could be beneficial to mankind. I'm not going to put it that way. I'm going to put it to universe kind. There's got to be ways that we can use that idea to benefit people to only benefit someone, including especially the person that it's being done to. But we're going about it the wrong way because we're going at it with an idea of war. I wouldn't call it, at that point, I wouldn't call it the same idea, but I wouldn't call it the same idea in parts. I would call it the same idea in whole. The idea of being able to take over someone, fix something, and leave. So, I guess, like, well, like Keith always talks about, you can heal yourself.
Yeah, you can.
So what if that's the way to teach them?
That's the thing. Well, that's an interesting. You can. Okay, that I just got onto something that I need to remove that picture. You can heal yourself. We have been taught and trained from early on, and then government has come in, hardcore with a form of brainwashing via different things on TV and different programs on TV. And I mean, history is doing it as well, Hollywood, that's what I meant. Hollywood is doing it as well. And there are little things even in children's cartoons and animation and things of that nature where things are taught to where we're not being shown anymore that we can heal. And then you've got the government where they are doing the spraying of and you've got the metals, Alzheimer's, aluminum. That's why you were telling me aluminum foil. So aluminum is being sprayed, and aluminum is very well known for creating Alzheimer's type symptoms. I am a living survivor of aluminum toxicity, severe aluminum toxicity. And when you have that kind of thing being sprayed across the globe, there are only very specific countries who refuse to allow that. They're very few and far between. But the U.S. is one of the first countries that started doing it. Now you start having farmers or home farmers who are talking about how certain plants will no longer grow in the soil, and that every time it rains, their plants are being burned. That is very, very significant.
Yeah.
Which means the toxicity level of the water that's coming down from the sky that has been tainted and poisoned, in my opinion, that's my opinion, Do your own research, look into it on your own, look up HARP, look up sprays and chemical sprays and the metals that are being put into those sprays. When you start having years worth of those sprays starting to affect the soil to where plants are no longer able to grow, and you have the effect of that on the lakes. And think about, for example, and I'm going to use Seattle as an example. Seattle has an aquifer, has a and I can't think of what it's called at this second section, but it's up in the mountains. Think about all of those metals getting put in, just sky being sprayed over those areas. Think about the fires that are happening across the countries, or across the United States, across this country, and how you have plants are having a harder time accessing water. Well, what's happening to the water? The water is also being toxic. What's happening to the plants? They're going up like tinder boxes where, yeah, you do have droughts, but at the same time, you have chemicals being sprayed onto those plants, and those plants are literally burning.
Well,
outside in and then inside out. So you're killing of not just the environment, but you're making it more difficult. And I'm talking about governments doing this, not just the United States. A lot of governments are doing this. And so when you talk about toxicity levels and you talk about aluminum and aluminum spray, and you talk about microdosing or microparticles in water that's literally being sprayed when it rains. When it rains, you have, little tiny raindrops or giant raindrops, and it's becoming toxic. It's becoming toxic to us. It's becoming toxic to the plants. It's becoming toxic to the animals.
It's not just the water, though. That's the thing.
It's becoming everything.
With what we've done with plants and all of the cross-pollination and cross everything,
yes,
that's completely unnatural. Friend, we have made some plants that are no longer able to absorb actual water.
Yeah, true.
And that's horrible. Like, for example, the biggest one that always blows my fucking mind is the fact that, do you realize no one alive has ever actually had a real banana?
That's very true.
They've all been synthetic.
Yeah, that's very true. They've talked about that in the last 4 years about real bananas and how they've had to alter them because of they've had to alter the genes of them because of certain factors that's taking place.
And they've been doing it long enough that none of us have ever actually had a real one.
Correct.
But, like...
Not unless you were like one of my grandparents, and they've been gone since the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. So, hello.
I hate putting them into this category because my son's probably going to go there. But University of Washington is asking for a name for a new fucking apple. Like, how many new apples do we fucking need?
What kind of apple is it?
It's supposed to be a mix between the Cosmic Crisp and Gala.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow.
Like, they bioengineered an apple again. Because Cosmic Crisp isn't real.
Yeah.
So, but and the stupid part is, like, this is the state known for apples, and I get that.
Yeah, it is known for apples.
But when I talk to June, Kayla's mom, and I asked her, what, like, do none of you people eat crab apples?
Oh, we used to eat crab apples when I was a kid.
Hell yeah! Those are the greatest apples in the world. They were free.
Well, not only that, they're little and they were perfect. Okay, so short story time. When I was a kid living in Seattle, used to walk up, my girlfriend and I used to walk up the street, and every day I would stop and pick at least 3 crab apples. They're small enough to where you could eat one as you're walking up the street. And the owner, she didn't care. I mean, she's like,
Yeah.
you're the only ones that actually, besides the birds, that are going to come and get them. Well, I was raised to where before we had moved into that location, into that area, I was living in Renton with my mom and my grandmother had crab apples at the front of the property. It was a big piece of property. And so I would go out, and Grandma was like, go eat all the crab apples you want. They're going to hurt your stomach eventually. And they never did. I love crab apples.
Yeah.
I used to.
When I was growing up.
They're tart.
They're the only freaking apple that would grow in Drumheller. So everyone had an apple tree.
Wow.
And we always had to fight the Hutterites for them.
Wow.
And this is nothing against the Hutterites. Some of them are, like, most of them are the greatest people I've ever known. But literally, most of the time they didn't even ask. They'd just show up. They would open your gate, close your gate behind them, go pick your tree clean, and then leave.
I used to have a neighbor that did that with the Italian prunes that we had. I had 2 rows of Italian prune trees, so I think there were like 13 trees. And I was so thankful for the family next door because they had the grandparents, the adult children, and they had, I think, somewhere between 6 and 9 kids. And that entire family I'm like, leave me at least one tree to pick from.
Well, see,
and they come and they devour the trees. I was so thankful for them.
These guys, they would do that to almost every tree in town. So us neighborhood kids, we'd be running around.
God.
We'd be like trying to beat them to the trees when the apples were ready. And
wow.
But the thing we didn't realize as kids is our parents who owned the trees, they would come out, see that their tree had been picked clean, and then a week later look on their front step and there is 6 jars of jam sitting there.
Oh.
And it's crabapple jam.
Oh, wow. I'd never heard of crabapple jam.
Oh, it's the greatest.
Wow. God, I bet it would be.
Oh, yeah. But like...
Oh, you're making me hungry for crab apples now.
Even though these guys would pick these trees clean, they weren't doing it out of malice. Like, that's how they fed their
that's how they were feeding their family.
Yeah, they fed their colonies that way. But they always thought about the person that they were taking it from, too.
That's good.
Because they never came back and asked for the jars or anything.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And then when people had yard sales, you'd put all your jars out that you got from the Hutterites, and they'd come and buy them.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, they haggled like crazy. Like, you get...
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
You're giving away the jars for, like, 20 for 5 cents. But, man, half the time the ladies only show up with $15 and they're trying to get everything they can.
Yeah.
So, like, it was a fair trade-off. Like, it was awesome. It was a great part of growing up. But, yeah, like, I discovered this because I ended up in a wheelchair for a few months.
Mm.
But just in Cedar-Woolley, off the beaten path on a bus route that I had to get on to go to my doctor, Jalen was pushing me in the wheelchair. There is a crabapple tree. that hangs over the street onto the sidewalk. So every year I stop by there now.
Man,
and I pick everything I fucking can get. Right?
It's on the street side.
Yeah, like...
Oh, God.
Well, and the people who own it, they obviously don't like them.
No, I'm sure they don't.
Whatever's left on their side of the yard, it's just sitting on the ground rotting.
Yeah, that's where you have starlings. That usually, crab apples usually bring in a lot of starlings.
Yeah, I know, those little annoying shits.
Oh, I do not like starlings. I'd rather be dealing with crows than starlings. Oh, man.
Friend, before we built June huge, like a big porch, she had just this little one. And every time our Aunt Dondi, Kayla's Aunt Dondi, came into the house, this set of 3 of them would attack her.
What, crows?
No, starlings. Like, they would friggin' come down. Yeah, they would swoop down and friggin' like try and hit her with her beak. It was weird.
Oh my God.
Friend. And it was about the 4th time, and I'm sitting in the living room, and she comes in, and she is almost in tears.
Oh.
Friend. So I walked out there with a tennis racket. One of the old ones from like the 80s.
I could see what's coming, man.
Yeah.
And
3 starlings hit the wall, and my aunt was all smiles. Friend.
God.
She loves animals, but friend, they created an enemy.
Yeah, when you're under attack like that from a wild animal and you don't know why, and it's not because of, like they've created a nest for babies and things like that. And there's literally no other reason for it. That's
yeah.
You gotta protect.
Friend. So it is 11:52.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, okay, so what are we talking about for next week?
Well, we've hit up quite a few different subjects in this last couple months. I did ask for permission to do one from Kayla. So I think we're going to do it next week. We are going to talk about Northern State.
Oh, wow.
Because she is now working there at the Job Corps they have there. And she has been invited to go into a few of the buildings in the last couple weeks. But just like Kayla, she left her phone upstairs. So, she got no photos, but she'll be able to tell us what's actually, like, some of the stuff that's still in there and describe some of it. And then I'm going to take some pictures and put them up on the Discord in our chat room of the actual buildings as they sit today.
Awesome.
Because one of them really bugs me. There is one of the residential buildings that still has a fucking light on in the middle of it. But you're not allowed in the building. They leave one goddamn light on. This is a government facility. That is a waste of power.
It is a waste of energy. That's not... So why are they leaving it on?
Oh.
That's the question. Why is that light deliberately... I mean, that's a deliberate act. Why is that being done?
So we do have a few things that we're not going to be able to touch on. Kayla can't talk about like what she does now or anything like that. Which is fine. We're not interested in that. We are interested in what happened there. And some of the other areas because the entire area is part of the Swift Center property of the Port of Skagit, which really also bothers me because it's a port without water. Why how? But the National Guard is located there. And I've never seen a National Guard with only 10 trucks. So I think they have a basement.
I would be asked. Mm-hmm.
Well, we know there was a basement level back in the day. So, friend, I think that is what we will cover next week. Friend, hopefully we'll have a few of the other guys being able to join us. John should be back He got a tooth removed today, so he's suffering.
Yeah, I remember what that's like when I had 4 of mine pulled. That's not fun.
But I also do have news
It's
about
bad.
him.
Yes.
I kind of want him to be here for me to say it, but...
Uh-oh. What you gonna say, Daddy?
I gotta look at the actual date. 1 second here.
Is he gonna throw a hissy fit that you...
September 18th. The show on September 18th. John is going to be picking the topic, and he will be leading the show because it's his last show. On the 24th of September, John starts college, and that at 16, I can't expect him to be able to stay up till midnight with us every week.
No.
Not if he's doing college level courses. So, and he agreed with me pretty easily, actually. But yeah. So September 18th will be his last show, and he's going to be picking that one. So it'll be a good one.
It'll be interesting to see what he comes up with.
Right? This is going to be so dumb.
Oh, not necessarily. You might be surprised by your kid.
We're going to end up talking about skibbity toilets again.
Jesus. Oh, dear.
But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are 4 minutes early. Friend, you
Well-
know what? No. Nikki,
Yeah?
give us a rundown of your show.
Okay, so my show is called Restore Belief with Nikki. It's on YouTube. All you have to do is type in Restore Belief with Nikki, and it's usually the first thing that pops up on whether it's Google or any other website you're looking for it, or in YouTube itself. I will talk about pretty much any topic, but usually I'm talking about ETs. I'm talking about U.S. government or global government, and how that all relates. I do talk about MK Ultra. I talk about a wide range of topics, and you're welcome to come into chat, as long as just what I ask is be respectful of other people in the chat and be respectful of me. I already have government that watches. They don't come into chat. I do have, yeah, that would probably piss me off. That's a pretty good way to, but anyway, they don't watch all the time, but certain times they will, but I'm so used to it that it's not even a big deal to me for the most part. You're open to ask questions, and that's how you can get a hold of me through there, by leaving a comment underneath a video that I do. I'll do a live broadcast. It's usually somewhere between Monday and Friday. The time has changed again. I'm on Tuesdays right now. We may decide to go back to Thursdays. I don't know if I'm going to do the middle of the night again. That's usually where a lot of people want to come in. Is during my middle of the night. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so and I get people all over the globe coming in. There are folks from Germany. There are folks from England and Australia and all of that. You can email me at restorebelief2022@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Nikki, NIKKI, .Jacobs, JACOBS, .376. And if you want to have a conversation, you can message me on Messenger. What but I'm real specific about who I allow on my Facebook friends page. I'm not one of these folks that have everybody who's ever friended me on there.
Yeah.
And I do that for a very specific reason. So I'm very protective of the people that I've got on my Facebook page. I do have a psychic medium page that is linked to that Facebook page, so you can find that through that Facebook page. So if you just want to follow me that way, that's fine too. So that's where I'm at. That's what I do.
With the whole government listening and thing, it would be really awkward if all of a sudden you got a comment that said, Tom from the CIA here, long time listener, first time question asker. Right. So I was just wondering.
Well, let's put it this way. I've had a retired CIA agent follow me and watch.
Nice.
So
nice.
And I know that, but I can't say how I know that. So I haven't checked recently to see if they're still there or not. But yeah, anyway, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm at this phase in my life where I don't care anymore. They've done so much stuff to me that I'm like, whatever.
I don't figure I'm important enough for them to follow.
Well, the only reason I was because of the book. Because I openly started talking about the book that I unexpectedly, my family, 4 of us, got to read. I was somewhere between the ages of 17 and 19. 17, 18, 19, somewhere in that. And I publicly started talking about it. And, well, that's not the real reason why they started following. The real reason is because I mistakenly asked a retired agent a question about the book, if it was ever heard about, and he turned my name over, and 4 days later, I got heavily targeted. And ever since then, I've been targeted. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
Friend, the only people that ever target me is the RCMP. Oh, bastards. But for any government agencies that are listening, friend, if you're local to the Washington area, don't forget to check out Witch's Cove. They are metaphysical supplies and services, charms, oils, candles, jewelry, home decor, and more. Chakra cleansing, host blessings, and cleansings, blessings, and more. So you can find them right now at the Shelton's Farmers Market. It goes till the end of October. September 7th, 21st, October 12th, and 26th, they will be there. They will be at the Healing Hearts and Physics Fair in Bremerton on November 9th. And pretty soon, hopefully, they will have news for me about an actual storefront in Shelton. So,
awesome.
If you guys are local to the area, make sure you give them a visit. You can find them at facebook.com/Witches Cove LLC. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are done for the night. Thank you very much for joining us. Nikki, thank you for being wonderful and being here as always. Friend, you rock.
Thank you. So do you.
So, next week we will be here with you with the stories of Northern State Mental Hospital in Washington State. And with that, we will be back next Wednesday, 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully with more people beside me because I'm lonely. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Data transfer complete. System malfunction. Please evacuate immediately. Program terminated.
Son of a biscuit eater.